Welcome to NQAT Daily. I'm Ed, today with Adam. How's it going?
Hello, my friend. It's good to be here.
Very good. Viewers on YouTube will notice the giant phallus you have in front of you.
Yeah, no, went full fancy wanker. But to disclose, like, he gave a bit of advice on it. I just went out on my own and got a bit over the top.
I know, it's great. A microphone for those of you listening on the podcast feed. All right, today we're going to talk about Arsenal versus United on Wednesday evening. Massive game, first huge test for Ruben Amorim's new regime. A bit unfair, really, fourth game in to chuck a big one at him, especially since Arsenal have such a good record against us at the Emirates in recent years. How are you feeling about it?
It's a weird one, isn't it? We've had this sort of downhill skier run since Eric Ten Hag was sacked and Ruud was manager. Good on him this morning, by the way. But yeah, going against a team that if they beat us, it'll be their first time they've ever beaten us 4 times in a row. It's a really interesting clash. An unbeaten side at home, we're going to really pour away. But I don't know whether it's the optimism of a new manager or this whole new era that we're in, but I think it's exciting. Like, I know we've got a really tough run through Christmas and beyond, the next 10, 12 games, as you were saying before we chucked on record, but it's a really interesting clash. We've got really inconvenient suspensions, where the Luke Shaw injury, which I'm sure we'll touch on, with the worst timing with Lissandro Martinez also out. It's a lot of unknowns, and I think that's what sort of makes it exciting. Don't come back to me if we get flogged 3-0 or something like that. But it's a good measuring stick at the very least.
Beat us twice last season. Eric Ten Hag moaned, talked about the one at the Emirates for God knows how long. He carped on about it like every week, basically. I think he felt like, in one sense, it was the final vision of what he was trying to achieve with United, and of course, the marginal offside call that went against United, and it was so marginal, like the tip of a toenail off, if it was off at all. And so I think he felt unlucky, but then they came to our place late in the season, beat us fairly comfortably. But I think the incentives by that stage were like really skewed. Arsenal still chasing the title at that point, real miles off it. Now it's a bit different. I mean, obviously Arsenal desperately need the win, because if they don't, like, the title could be gone already. I mean, maybe already is 11 points behind, aren't they? Something like that, maybe even more. But United need it as well. Like desperately, like, it's so tight between 3rd and 12th. Really only a few points in it. Like, we have the incentive there of a Champions League place. It's within our grasp. And you were saying this sort of tough run of fixtures, especially away from home. Arsenal, Spurs, City, Liverpool, and Arsenal again in the Cup. The Spurs games in the EFL Cup. But that's really going to test Amorim's tactical sort of nous, isn't it? With teams you might not be that familiar with, but they might not be that familiar with us now as well, given the new formation system.
Yeah, that unpredictability is a little bit exciting, isn't it? I think we saw that against Everton, the potential for it. I think Amorim spoke about this post-game. That unpredictability of the rotation could be an edge for us, and I think Mikel Arteta actually commented on it as well in his pre-game press conference. It just, teams don't know how to plan for a team playing a new system and players in their positions, like Joshua Zirkzee playing like that 9 and 10 rotating with a Marcus Rashford against Everton. It does give a little bit extra for us, but it is an interesting clash. They've got to go for it. Like, a draw just might do, particularly in a home clash. Don't get me started on Eric top 6 Ten Hag away from home. Those days are thankfully in the past. But it's interesting because, you know, a draw probably doesn't do for United either. But I guess bigger picture, you know, you're saying it's so tight. Things can change so quickly in the matter of, you know, 2 or 3 results. You can go from 6th to 12th or vice versa with how tight things are. So there isn't a lot of room for error. But Arsenal have had probably an inconsistent season. We know how far off the top they are and the pace that Liverpool's setting, but their results have been mixed. I mean, they beat PSG beat Leverkusen, but they also drew and lost with Liverpool, drew with Chelsea, City, Brighton, Atalanta. They also lost to Newcastle and Inter. So they haven't like been super consistent in those bigger games. There's just a lot of opportunity. I'm a glass half full guy, so that's just the way I'll go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you were analysing Arsenal's sort of tactical makeup, big change with Odegaard returning, him being out, just seems to completely blunt them. They suddenly couldn't score goals, dropped too many points early in the season. Defensively as solid as ever, and it's system plus players. I mean, some excellent individuals there, but a system that really prioritizes defensive security. I'd say in a more traditional way than say his mentor in Pep. I mean, this is not about just retaining the ball. They transition quite quickly. Arsenal, City do not really. Arsenal are not. They're not stringing together 30-pass sequences in the way that City do. So stylistically, over time, they've kind of moved beyond or moved away from the Guardiola model. He's found his own way, Arteta, but built on like that defensive solidity. They're just really difficult to beat, and then no surprise here. Well, no new idea, but they're great on set pieces. Gabriel scored 5 headers from corners or free kicks this season. One at the weekend as well. Bukayo Saka's just outstanding deliveries. He's put it in the right place all of the time. It's a real threat. They get a lot of free goals, basically. It's like a tennis player with a massive first serve. If you're 3 points up every game, it's very hard to get broken, isn't it? And United somehow going to have to watch the transitions. I think we are in definitely a better shape than under Eric Ten Hag for that, because the straight at the back with the 2 sitting plus the wing backs. I feel like we're more secure, although Ipswich caused us some problems. Everton did in the first 20-25 minutes as well. So you'll be looking at that really closely. And then the set pieces thing is really deeply concerning, isn't it? Because we had this habit of conceding a lot of goals last season from set pieces, and brought in Andreas Georgsson to try and solve it. He now seems to be relegated in some way. It's very confusing. I mean, he's still at the club, right? They kept him on. But
I'm not sure what his role is now.
I don't know, because it's the other chap.
Carlos Fernandez?
Carlos, yeah.
They were saying after he scored that goal, the corner from that Rashford scored, that was right. Carlos Fernandez joint. So I'm not really sure what's going on with Jordan.
I don't know. I think Paul Scholes invented that one, didn't he? So float out to the edge of the air and the volley in. Anyway, so a lot of interesting stuff to think about here. A lot of challenges in the Arsenal makeup as well, like for United to face. And then it's injuries and suspensions, just as we thought everyone was coming back. Kobe Mainoo might not have played anyway, I'm not sure, just given how long he's been out. The Sandro Martinez definitely would have. And then announced earlier today that Luke Shaw has got another muscle injury, just sort of unbelievable. If he was a horse, you'd have shot him by now, wouldn't you? You'd just said, hey, let's just be humane. Bring out the screens, click, and but yeah, I mean, he gets. I don't know whether you're like diving into Twitter today, but he gets a lot of pelters from United fans online. It wouldn't be true in the stadium. I just kind of feel sorry for him. No player wants to be injured this much. He's not doing it on purpose, but he's a real liability for United, and the club keep thinking he's coming back. And so don't buy another left back, and he never does.
Yeah, he's so talented that we've been stuck in this this endless cycle where we don't buy a left back because we plan to have Luke Shaw available. But I think, like you said, he does cop it. I was saying this morning that, for an athlete, rehab is hell. It's the last place they want to be. It's very lonely. And I just feel for him, really feel for him. But from a club perspective, you have to plan for players who are going to be available. Like if you look at the contrast of Bruno Fernandes versus Luke Shaw, it's so stark in that availability, and that's That's the best ability at the end of the day. And we've seen that even in Ruben Amorim's early days, just having the squad together and allowing for that rotation, the players that aren't training to drill down, or the players that aren't starting to drill down on the tactics. You're starting to see more of the idea that he's developing. But yeah, you just feel for him. It's shocking time in his 3 games back, 3 substitute appearances. It seemed like they were being quite prudent and careful as opposed to how he was thrown in previously and overplayed, and that's what had caused all these setbacks. I'm not interested in the debate online about the Euros and stuff. That was just a case of timing for me.
Different injury as well. I mean, he had an injury. He's done the rehab he'd been doing with United, goes to the Euros with England, still doing the rehab, comes back for the final, got injured, not in that game, but in pre-season with United, and it was a calf injury. So I don't think they're related. It's a nice narrative, isn't it, for people to go, hey, look, he's more committed to England than he is to United. I mean, chances are that he could have spent the summer sat on the sofa, came back for the first day of training and twanged something anyway, right? It is odd behaviour by the club not coming up with another solution, especially given that Tyrone Malacia has had 2 really serious knee injuries, and at the same time they let Alvaro Fernandez go. He's performing excellently at Benfica by all accounts. So it's an odd one. Tomorrow that doesn't leave United with many options. So presumably it's going to be Mazraoui, De Ligt, and Maguire. I'm not sure in quite what order. I guess Maguire on the left-hand side of that 3. So
it creates an interesting problem, not an interesting problem. It just creates a problem. So how, like, for me, playing Arsenal is a 3-pronged approach. It's stop Saka, stop Odegaard, stop set pieces. It's going to be hard to stop all 3, let alone with the issues they're going to have, Mazraoui, De Ligt, Maguire. So are you going to ask Diogo Dalot, who's likely going to play that left wing back role, to tuck in a little bit more, so they're defending more in a back 4, so that if Ahmad's on the right again, because he's obviously going to be more advanced. I think it's too simple to call the positions they're playing right, because Ahmad's not really playing as a wing back per se.
Yeah. And Amorim did this with Sporting all the time. Played 1 defensive player and 1 attacking player in those 2 fullback positions, and so it looks like a 4. Looks like a 4-4-2 basically when you're defending, and then looks much like they did the 3-2 build up when attacking in possession, and it looks very, very different. But that's kind of the modern way, isn't it? Like systems are for the chalkboard; they're not really for the pitch. And he keeps saying this as well, Amorim. He's like I think he was almost like miffed by how much he was being asked about it, given that he's already commented about how much media he has to do as well.
Yeah. How many interviews has he done now? Like, I thought it was coming to an end, and Mark Chapman actually did a really good interview with him on the BBC. Yeah. That's because it's Mark.
He's great, Mark. He's an AFN fan as well, and yeah, he's an excellent broadcaster.
Yeah, it's just how much can he repeat himself? I feel like I was thinking about this earlier. I feel like I've sort of zoned out to all his press conferences because he's being asked the same questions over and over. Does come up with the occasional interesting quote, but he's just been drilled down on so much to the press, because everyone wants their clips for their whether it's TNT or whoever it is. Everyone wants their moment with him because he's the new man. So
he probably won't have to do too many of the long form ones, but he will get 15 minutes at Carrington on a Friday, and then pre and post, and the post match one, which is never particularly long, and then pre and post Europe as well. So he's going to have to do all those set piece ones, and then the occasional club piece and some other broadcaster or whatever. It's just given how many rights holders there are, you get obviously all the UK broadcasters. So you get the BBC, Sky, Amazon, and TNT. TNT, sorry, for the European games. And also NBC in the States will be a commitment as well, almost certainly, because they're the second biggest rights holder of any other territory. So yeah, I mean, it's just go to the territory. He's just going to have to get used to it. It's Premier League is a global game. United the biggest fish in this giant big pond, and everyone wants a piece of him.
Yeah, it's just the ups. It's the downside of like if all this money is going to be available, particularly with the overseas rights, going to cost him more than the domestic rights. I think if I remember reading correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
Earlier this week. Yeah, that's just the price of it, I guess. So, I guess you sell yourself for a little bit of that.
Indeed. So United's Q1 2025 results were out last week, and they were not pretty reading. I mean, that's for another discussion, I guess. Coming back to the game, I mean, one of many reasons why it's so important is to maintain momentum, chasing those European places. Champions League is worth 60 to 80 million to United, more than the Europa League. You cap out at 40 to 50 in the Europa League. Maximum prize money is well over 100 in Champions League. So that's the scale of the prize on offer. Of course, like it's something about the modern game, isn't it, that we have to think about finances, and all we want to see is all that money on the pitch with the best possible players, best possible manager, not getting stuffed by Arsenal again.
Well, ideally, I mean, one of the curiosities coming back to the game for me was, obviously without Kobe Miner, who ended up playing the full game because of his yellow card. I think he was only planned to play 60 minutes, but that means Ugarte and Casemiro on midfield. Now,
Certainly,
having their physicality and their combativeness could be handy against a very physical Arsenal side. Not the sort of Arsenal we're used to, with their big, strong centre-backs, 4 strong centre-backs playing across that defence. It's annoying not having Lissandro Martinez for that sort of physicality, but he's sort of been off kilter, so I think he's more useful in ball progression than he is in defence at the minute. Harry Maguire is a very intelligent defender, but I don't know how he's going to combat that speed of Bukayo Saka if he gets beyond Diogo Dalot. So a curiosity, they're going to have Ugarte. His Casemiro is not really playing as a 6.
no, he'll play at 8. Yeah. Ugarte will just sit in front of the back 3/5/4, depending on which phase of play. Yeah, he'll sit there and clean stuff up. I mean, Maguire's lack of mobility is the problem, of course, because Saka can go both sides. They'll double up for sure, United, but they can't sit everyone back because they have to be able to transition. I did keep going back to that Sporting v City game. I know it's completely different context and all of that, but just how rapidly they were able to spring out and quite direct. I mean, not long, but direct, and getting the 3 forwards to run into the channels and Hull City's defence all over the place, and on 33% possession, scored all those goals. So I think about that. I think about how well they did that and how unflustered they looked by all that City possession playing in front of them. Obviously, Arsenal have got weapons. Although, as you said, your set pieces is Odegaard, is Saka. Set pieces, injuries may help us a little bit there, because we're going to have Casemiro and Maguire both much better in the air than Martinez and Maine.
Well, Gabriel's in doubt as well. I think he's been in. I think he picked up a knock in the Sporting game. So
yeah,
there's no guarantee he plays and replayed in the weekend, but he's still questionable to play. So it does offer up some interesting dilemmas. What I'm interested about, based on what you said with the Sporting City game, is how much pragmatism will Amorim show, because he's not entirely rigid in how he plays. So we're going to get to see a bit of that management, the tactical management that he does. We've seen how proactive he is with his substitutions. Now we're going to get to see that pragmatism from the kickoff and how different the tactical setup might be, just to combat the environment they're going to be going into at the Emirates.
Yeah, I think it's I haven't quite got my head around all the coaches' names yet. Is it Ferro, the young guy who does all the tactical analysis? Might be. I could be getting that totally wrong.
I only know Carlos Fernandez so far.
Carlos Fernandez, there's Ferro, and then there's Candido, right?
Candido, yeah.
Candido, and then there's the old goalkeeping coach whose name I forget, and one other analyst. Anyway, so one of them is supposed to be a real whiz at this tactical stuff. He does all the kind of video stuff and the analysis and looking into strengths and weaknesses of the opposition. I'm sure they've done a lot of sessions on it this week, in how to combat Arsenal's strengths and weaknesses in this 3-4-3 system, and who plays where exactly. Although, given the suspensions and injuries, there aren't that many places up for grabs. I mean, I think we can probably pick the back five now, and it will be Casemiro and Ugarte in front of them, and then Bruno will be one, and then which two of Højlund, Rashford, and Garnacho is it going to be? Or actually, I could be totally wrong. Could be Mason Mount as well if they want the ball control.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm expecting Mason Mount to start, particularly that he only played very little in the game on the weekend. So I'm thinking Fernandes and Mount, but I don't know who the forward's going to be. Is he going to go with Rashford for an hour, Højlund for a half hour? Yeah, I'm not too sure. I would probably go with Højlund, but do you want Højlund that gets tired legs when the game starts to stretch?
Or Garnacho, who's playing in open spaces. So the one question about if it's Mount and Fernandes, not loads and loads of pace there, and one of the areas that Sporting called City all those problems was in the two very, very quick wide forwards and just the ability to transition really, really rapidly. So it's a question mark there. If you are trying to play a transitionary style of football and you don't have a lot of pace in the team, that can cause a challenge. That might suggest it's more Rashford than Højlund if he went with Mount and Fernandes. Just a little bit of extra pace, little bit of extra movement. Højlund has this kind of tendency to fight with defenders. Amorim called it out, actually. Yeah, Andy Cole called it out last season. He's like, I don't like him. He fights with the defenders too much. And he didn't like, I think that part of that was Erik Ten Hag's like misprofiling Højlund, saying, hey, you're a big number 9. Whereas not, it's a channel runner. He likes to move and get the ball in front of him. That's when he's most dangerous, I think.
I actually like how Ruben Amorim always speaks so transparently about what the players have to improve. It's not a criticism either. He words it really well. I think sometimes you can draw a fine line between calling out a player, whereas this is where I think he can really improve, and I think he's doing that latter part. And I think that communication and that transparency in all of these press conferences, as many as he's done, as we said before, will bode really well for him. I think communication with the fans and in general, the things that we wonder, we're getting more answers on, whether it's from the top down, really. So yeah, it's you make a good point though. I think there is a lack of pace in a Mount Fernandes attacking midfield, but I did notice in the early stages of the game on Sunday how important Mount was and how poor our press was in that first half without him. The goals broke open the game, but our press was really poor.
Yeah, I mean, he feels instinctively, Mount feels like a player Amorim would like, right? Multifunctional in this 2-10 system. He's got a natural home because my worry with Mount usually is he just doesn't create that much. I mean, he's great in all the out of possession stuff. That's why coaches love him and fans tend not to, basically, because he just doesn't create much. He doesn't score much. But if Bruno's the other one, or you've got other players who can score and create, then Mount is a trigger for the press. There's an excellent option. That's why Southgate liked him until he didn't, weirdly. Just dropped him one day and just never picked him back up again. So it's an interesting one. I mean, he just feels like the criticism of the Mount purchase. One, it was really expensive for a player who had 1 year left on his contract. But two, it just didn't seem to make any sense in a 4-2-3-1 system where Bruno's going to be a number 10. He never gets injured and he's never dropped. But now there's an extra space for a Mount type player. So it's kind of interesting. There'll be about 3,000 United fans going. There'll be a fine voice, as always. I don't get the chance to do this as much, or haven't been for a while now, to an away game with United. I used to do it a lot, loved it. Just a fantastic atmosphere, especially at the Emirates or at Highbury before it, because Arsenal fans just don't. They don't.
Yeah, the library, as it was once called. Yeah,
they're too busy drinking their Chablis and thinking about the prawn sandwiches, aren't they?
Well, it was the first thing I thought of when we had the ticket price raises. Obviously, I'm not going to go into that right now, but that's sort of what we've seen happen at the Emirates. The Emirates has gotten quieter and quieter. It was already a quiet stadium. But when they built the stadium, the downside of that was the ticket prices. And it does make you wonder what any new version of Old Trafford is going to be like with where we're sort of heading.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can see it will be fewer season tickets as a percentage of the ground and more match day tickets because you can charge higher prices and drive more revenue from fans who it's a once in a lifetime experience or something, but it's just not the same. So yes, likely it will have an impact, but every single Premier League club is looking at that, and they should all think about it because atmosphere is part of the product. There will be a good atmosphere tomorrow night because 3,000 United fans will outsing Arsenal fans, and it won't matter whether we're getting spanked or not. They'll still be there, giving their all. It'll be even better with the cup game because United would get a quarter of the stadium, so it's going to be 9 or 10,000. That would be
yeah. I saw that. I think they said 9,000. Yeah,
that's about right. Yeah. Tempting to book a flight back. I mean, I'm normally back in England in January, so if anyone wants to offer me a ticket, I'm not in the loyalty pot, so no, I don't go often enough these days. So. Well, it's super exciting. Really looking forward to it, and it's the best thing about the changing manager. Not that I particularly hated Eric, but it just wasn't very inspiring, and the football was flat, and I was dreading the games. And I don't know.
Yeah, the environment.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. There's just a different optimism. Like I always look forward to match day, but the difference now is like you don't know what to expect in a good way, whereas before you didn't know what to expect in a bad way. You didn't know what sort of chaos was going to come. So now it's like I don't know what 11's going to play. Like we know most of the selection, but what did they have in store for us? It's an exciting mentality to shift back towards.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for watching or listening. No matter what platform you're on, we appreciate your support. Adam, pleasure as always. Great to have you with us. Check out Adam's Twitter, X Blue Sky. I did really, really, really enjoy the Pep and Lance Armstrong comparison, as did most of the internet the other day. So,
that seemed to be a success. Nothing like that.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's how many we're going to score tomorrow night, right?
Yeah.
6.
6 goals, 6 fingers.
Yeah, very nice. All right, bye now. Thanks a lot, everyone.